It is another episode of Amjambo Time. Thank you for all who help us to broadcast this unique program. I want to welcome our listeners in Maine and around the world. It is a new day. It is a new year. Amjambo Time, Amjambo Africa, our entire crew. We wish you a happy new year of 2024. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jaha Kuziman, and I'll be your host in this show. For this beginning of the year, we have chosen for you one of the great interviews we had back in 2023. We sat together with artist Antonio Rocha, who is known in Maine and around the world.
My name is Antonio Rocha. It spells R-O-C-H-A, but it's pronounced Rocha. And like Russia with an H, Rocha. I come from Brazil. I've been in Maine for 35 years.
Wow.
And I am a full-time performer. And I mix a combination of movement, mime, and verbal narrative. And I've been performing it my entire adult life. I have several stories in my repertoire. And I'm based in Maine. But I went to USM. I got a degree, theater degree from USM, and came from Brazil to study under the master mime and storyteller, but mainly mime, Tony Montanaro. Tony Montanaro was an amazing teacher and director and influenced the careers of many artists from various countries, actually.
Wow.
At his school, the Celebration Barn Theater, it's a school that still thrives, a performing arts school in South Paris, Maine.
Wow.
So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. I've performed in 44 states and 20 countries around the world, yeah.
So what are the themes or the topics?
The topics of my work?
Yes.
I have various topics. I have environmental topics, topics of tolerance and respect. I performed a lot for young audiences, so I have a lot of stories, folk tales that connect with curriculum in various schools, right? But I also have a repertoire for adults, which are, some of them are very funny, some of them are not, but these stories are told to adult audiences. And they vary from comedy pieces about situations I found myself into, but it's not stand-up. They're just funny stories of things that I have to face as a human being.
Yeah.
And then I have some poetic, toned stories about my parents' childhood in Brazil. And so I have a lot of folk tales, as I mentioned, from Africa and South America. And I also do historical stories, such as the one I did today, the slave ship called Malaga. A slave ship called Malaga is its main history, its Brazilian history, and its personal history.
How do you explain this to the audience? Maybe before we get to Malaga slave ship, I'm trying to check. You've been performing for more than 30 years.
Yes.
Can you tell us the most memorable moments of your career?
I have many memorable moments. Performing for the Kennedy Center was a very memorable one. I performed at the Kennedy Center. The audience was great. Yes, it was great. And my first performance at the National Storytelling Festival, that was huge. The National Storytelling Festival is over 50 years old, and you perform in front of 2,000 people, 1,500 people, mostly adults, and it's a career-making event in Tennessee. And to be a storyteller and be invited to be featured there is a huge career moment.
Really?
Yes, huge career moment. So that was amazing when I did it for the first time in the year 2000.
Wow.
My career really started to flourish in the early 1990s here in New England. And then I got invited to do the festival in 2000, and that was huge because then a lot of people from other festivals around the country got to see my work, right? And they found it, according to some people who told me, refreshing because of my blending of movement, the mime, and the talking. So my body is always expressing something that connects directly to the story.
Without talking?
Yes, but I do speak as I'm telling the story, but my body is always accompanying the talking and connecting to character and essence. I have many stories on YouTube you'll be able to visit and see how it's physical and spoken. And so that was a very memorable moment in my career to perform at the National Storytelling Festival. Perform in Austria. I've been there 14 times at a festival.
In Europe?
In Europe, yes.
Was it a festival?
Yes, big storytelling festival that I've been back 14 times to perform at. I've performed in 14 different countries. No, sorry, 20 different countries.
20 different.
Singapore, India, Japan, New Zealand, Taiwan, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and many others, such as Kenya, South Africa. So those are always memorable. I love to travel. I'm a travel maniac. You want to see me jumping around, you put me inside of an airplane and send me somewhere, I'll go with a big smile. And when I received the National Oracle Award, it's a Circle of Excellence Award. That was a memorable moment in my career. That was in 2015. The National Association of the NSN, National Storytelling Network. They award different storytellers every year for their commitment and contribution to the art of storytelling. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime award.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and to receive it, it's really touching, very touching, because you are indicated to be awarded by colleagues of yours. So your peer group they select you. Yeah, so it's a very touching moment. So that happened 2015.
You're talking about awards.
Yeah, memorable moments, right? Memorable moments in my career. So I have a few. I don't have a collection of them, but I have a few. I have the this one, right? The Circle of Excellence. I have the gold. I have another one for a DVD I produced in 2008. It's called the Parents' Choice Award Gold. That was another one. Parents' Choice.
So,
but
let me ask you this.
Yes, please do.
When you are on the stage, when you're writing your art, writings that you're going to turn into performance, what is the drive that you have, the passion you have? It's about changing what? It's about
changing lives. It's about changing perspective. It's about changing one's perspective to one's life through laughter sometimes, through thinking other times, poignancy, and also history, truth. Like this historical piece I just did today for the Juneteenth celebration here. It's a story that a lot of people don't know about. And when I came across it, I was very excited. About it because it's a story that speaks to the truth. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It's a historical piece, and I researched it and put it together, and it combines main history, Brazilian history, and my own personal history. Because I come from Brazil, I'm an Afro descent myself. So I want people to be entertained, but to also have be inspired and think about life itself, what matters in life.
Let's talk about that story exact that you performed here, and we're gonna relate it with June 10th. And
well, I'm very. This story is very moving because of the subject matter. It's about a slave ship that was built in Maine in 1832, the Malaga. There's a Malaga Island as well, not to be confused with the Malaga, the ship. The story I tell is about the ship that was built in 1832 and finds itself transporting enslaved people. And I feel a huge amount of healing when I tell the story. There's a sense of lightness that comes to me at the end of the show. I often say it's like stepping out of a very hot sauna. I feel healed. I feel lighter. It is. I don't feel I perform the piece. I feel I ride the story wave. It's like a wave I'm trying to not fall into, but ride it. Right. That's my personal feeling about it. And adults seem to be enjoying it very much. The audiences, both grown audiences, and I've also been able to do it in a lot of schools in Maine through Portland Ovations. Portland Ovations has been very key in sending me to various schools to perform the piece. And kids are really amazing. They listen very carefully and they have wonderful questions about it.
You mentioned the schools, you mentioned when you perform to kids. And I'm trying to relate this to the national move that is sometimes meant to erase or to put aside.
Put aside, yeah, not give importance to it, yes.
There you go. So how do you feel about...
I feel great that yes. I mean, talking about the timing of it all, the timing, it's incredible that I got introduced to the story by Daniel Minter from Indigo Arts Alliance back in 2020, and through a series of connections with Kate McMahon from the Smithsonian. She's a Maine scholar who works for the Smithsonian. And then the ship comes together, the story comes together, just as there's this movement to deny black history, to sugarcoat it. And I'm like, bam, you know. But when Portland Ovations booked me to put me on their roster, they said, you're probably going to get 2-3 shows, because it's a very controversial story. And we ended up doing it like 12, 13 times here in Maine.
That a positive?
Positive, very positive.
Yeah.
So I did several museums and churches. And then I did several schools, middle schools. I don't do this for elementary schools. The story is too complicated for younger kids. But 6th grade and up, they can digest it well. Yeah. And interestingly so, a church in Brunswick that was built by the same man who owned the shipyard where the boat was built, the ship, booked me. So they're trying to reconciliate how the church came to be, because you know, it was built with slave money, right? So they booked the show, and not only booked the show, but donated thousands of dollars for me to then perform it in more schools.
Wonderful.
So it's been like an amazing journey.
When you read through the books, you will see some people trying to, to reconcile themselves with the past. when you sing Amazing Grace. I don't know if you know that song.
Yes,
So,
yes, absolutely.
So it's another reconciliation with someone's
Healing,
past,
yes.
healing also, as you mentioned. So I want to see how you think about the art to counter the narrative that is against the black slavery, but also to convict the opinion of those who are still, skeptical, who don't understand it. How can we convict? How can you convict them, or how can you convince them through the art?
Yes. I have a lot of people who come to the shows who have no idea that Maine was as black as it was, number one. There were black people here before the Pilgrims arrived. And they also don't know how Maine was involved with slavery. Everybody was. Even if you were against slavery, the clothes and the food you consumed were produced by the slaves, right? So there's at the same. Why is there a push to deny the history? Why is there a push to deny the history now more than ever before? Is because there is a huge awakening happening now more than ever before. You see? So the push to deny the history comes from fear. If there is no fear, if there is no push and no awakening to the fact that these things happen, there wouldn't be anybody trying to hide it. So the hiding strategy, the denying strategy of many is a symptom that a lot of people are waking up to the fact that it happened. So it is a good sign, actually, when you think about it. It's like, do you want to promote something? Try to hide it.
Deny it.
Try to deny it. Be as loud as you want. Go for it. Say it didn't happen, because the more you say it didn't happen, the more people are going to say, they're going to read books, they're going to create stories, they're going to it's like, if you want to promote a good book, say it should be burned. Everybody's going to read a book.
So you see,
it backfires big time.
The art is going to come in full circle.
Yes, and so I feel very honored. I feel honored and touched that I've been presented with this story, and I am able to touch people's minds and hearts through the telling of it.
Yeah.
And and I do everything I've done in the 30 years I've been performing. Well, more than 30. I've been in Maine for 35 years, and I started performing in Brazil. So I've been performing for like 37 years, and mainly full time for 30 years now.
Wow.
But part time and full time.
I've never been in the South. In Brazil, South America. I've never been there, but I often wonder, how is the momentum there? How do people?
It is. In Brazil. Brazil needs a second emancipation proclamation. We are the largest African diaspora in the world. The U.S. has about 15% Afro descent. Brazil has 54% Afro descent, 55%. We are the largest African diaspora, and most of the people who are affluent in Brazil. So, and we have the majority of black people are in the favelas, in the shanty towns, incarcerated and being shot on a daily basis in Brazil. A lot of the affluent people are not white, are not black. They're white Brazilians, and it's what holds Brazil back. The Brazilian elite, they don't want the black people to inform themselves, to move up in society, because there's a fear of retaliation, but that's not the issue. That's not the main issue. The main issue is when you have a country that was the largest slave destination, and all of a sudden now it's the largest African diaspora. Not now, it's been that way. The elite, they don't want to be sharing an office with a black person. They don't want to be sharing their wealth with anybody that is not their kind.
Wow.
So
the divide is, the gap is wide.
It's huge. It's the largest social gap in the world is the Brazilian. You have people with private jets, many, thousands of people flying on private jets, and millions of people just barely making a living, and most of them are black, Afro descent. It's so crazy. The shame, there's shame, so much trauma. Even some Afro descent people associate themselves as white, light-skinned people, like myself.
Yeah.
I know I'm Afro descent, but if you look at my birth certificate, it says white on it. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
The whole race thing is ridiculous. There's no race. It's the human being species, and we come in many colors.
Yeah.
There's no race, and it's. But everywhere you go, you have people trying to step on the head, on the neck of somebody else. It's white with black. It's white with Asian. It's black with black. Sometimes you find it's like it's Asian with Asian. Yeah. I find that racism comes from the ridiculous assumption that the pie is finite. That if I don't conquer and dominate and exterminate, there won't be anything left for myself.
And the mind.
Huh?
And the mind.
Yes. So do you want to, I talked to this with my kids and my wife. I said, do you want to see an unhealthy nation? An unhealthy nation is a nation that produces millionaires and billionaires. Because I'm not against people's success.
Yeah.
I'm not against people having money at all. We live in a world that money is important to buy things.
Yeah.
But when you find a nation, many nations producing a lot of billionaires, especially billionaires, you know that there's something off in the ecosystem. The ecosystem is off. It's like in the natural world, if you don't see a lot of predators, the ecosystem is out of balance. So when you see in the finance world a lot of billionaires being produced, you know that they're riding on the hide of people.
That's the sad.
So it's like there's something is wrong with the trickle-down economics. It's not trickling down as they say it would. It has never trickled down. Just break the ceiling and let people do what they love to do and live their lives in peace.
Antonio, what's your next project?
My next project, I'm always working on a new thing. I have a few stories that I'm working on, not historical ones, but I'd love to do some research for my next historical piece on a slave that was bought by a Jesuit priest in Africa, travels with him as his servant and companion throughout Asia, becomes highly educated, speaks several languages, and becomes the first black samurai in Japan. Now, that is a story I love. I love to learn more about.
Wow.
Yes.
So can you tell our audience where they can see, read, find your...
Yes, people can go online, and if you write my name, Antonio, Antonio, Rocha, Rocha, and then storyteller, if you Google that, you'll take to videos on YouTube, my YouTube channel. My website is www.storyinmotion, not emotion, but in motion. So it's story, INMOTION. That's my website. My schedule is there. My bio is there. I have videos there. I am a 2-time TEDx presenter. So that's where people can find me. And if you go to my website, you can get my email, my phone number. Thank you so much.
We are at the end of today's show, and with the entire team of Amjambo Africa, we wish you a happy new year.